All right, welcome to another edition of the Big Blue Report featuring that guy right there, two-time Super Bowl champion, former defensive captain of your Big Blue New York Giants, Jonathan Casillas, and with us always the professor, Big Daddy D, the president of the Taylor Swift fan club, and happy birthday, Tucker. Ryan Darlington. That's
Hey,
Happy
right.
B-Day,
that's
Little
right.
Tuck, baby.
Little Tuck going 12 strong tomorrow.
Nice, man.
And
It's a
I'm
good
of
thing,
course.
Hey,
man.
Gemini's in the building, baby.
Gemini is all about it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he fits too. He absolutely fits that mold. That's good stuff.
And I'm Randy Zelia from Back Sports Page. And guys, OTAs are continuing. And these are now the dog days of OTAs. These are the days where it's the hello, my name is name tags come off.
Yep.
They're starting to scheme a little bit. They're getting some guys back in shape. Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence have showed up to OTAs now. So, the gang is almost all here. We know who's not here. We'll talk about him in a few minutes. JC, I gotta ask, from your perspective, because you've done the OTA thing. You've done the OTA thing for a while. Can you talk about the fact that the length of OTAs is always a couple weeks long, going into that second week? What's it really like after the initial? We're back together. The band is back together.
Well, you know what? The first day of OTAs, you've already been through phase 1 and phase 2. You've been working out. You've been running. You're pretty much acclimated to who the guys are, who the new guys are. Guys that are there, they should pretty much know everyone's name, and that just got there are getting close to, the guys in their positions. I'm talking about their names, just their names. Because think about it, when you come in, you got to learn, of course, the coaches' names. You got to learn all the players' names, and a lot of times, I play defense. It takes a little while to learn those offensive players' names. You call them numbers. Number 61, what's his name again? So you're still figuring out your teammates. You're still getting adjusted if you're, not from the area, to the climate out here, and what the weather is, But then when you talk about X and O's, this is a good chance now to actually do work on the field, because before that it was just barely a walkthrough, like now you're moving at faster speeds. Of course, nobody's hitting anybody, but to really get adjusted to offense or defensive plays, you got to do it at full speed. You got to see how it matches up, and then you get a good chance to see just that. You really only get to see speed, who possesses the speed, the route running, the thinking and the adjustments that can go on a fly. This is the 7-on-7 part of football, the not so real football, but I think it's very necessary to, number one, get all the guys together, get them, figuring out the chemistry of the team, the camaraderie of the team. Everybody has to get to know each other, and then also getting acclimated to the playbook, right? And then, come training camp time, that'll be the second time they introduced to these plays, to the playbook for all the new guys. And the great thing about this year, Brandy, is this is the second year for mostly all of the guys, except of course the new guys, the draft picks, all the free agents that the Giants have signed this year. But you got a second year under Wink's defense, Kafka's offense. And last year it was the first year. So I was a guy who always asked questions. If you ask a question last year in a new defense, that coach you asked the question to, he's new too. So I know it was a lot of times last year that they were like, let me ask Wink about that. I'll get back to you later. Now, not only do you have the coaches with the second year getting the grasp of the defense, but also the players. So now there's not going to be so many unanswered questions in these meetings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because that's what it is. You see a scenario and you're like, okay, this will put stress. This concept will put stress against our cover too, right? Okay, so what do we do as an adjustment or something like that? And that's like a football 300 level course type question, like you don't get those on day one. You don't get those, you get those on day 5, day 7, from veterans that understand how defenses work. And you got to be a high level guy to answer that question, or at least have a high level of understanding of what you're running, to be able to answer questions like that. Now they have a roster full of guys who can answer those questions for all of the new free agents and also the rookies as well.
Yeah. The 300 level guys are in the same room as the 100 level guys, right? And so
They're all in the same room together.
In the same room. So when those answers come up, I mean, it's actually, I mean, you think about the system and how one would go about installing it. It really is very much like a collegiate course, right? You've got your syllabus, you've got the things that you need everybody to know, the basics that get covered. And then it's really just a matter of kind of bringing everybody along and having that second year, having those guys in the room that are now the 200 and 300 level guys. They didn't have that last year, to your point, JC. They didn't have that last year. They now have additional resources beyond the coaches that know what's going on, that they, guys that are going to be in their position room that they can talk to and ask questions of and really kind of, get it solid and solidified in their own mind. So I think that's yet another feather in the cap, if you will, and another arrow in the quiver this year that we didn't have last year.
The guy that you're describing, though, is Jihadi Ward in my eyes. Jihadi Ward, who's understanding the Winks defense, who understands what they're trying to accomplish and what they're able to do. I think Jihadi Ward is the guy there who can help bridge that gap from the younger guys with the veterans to the younger guys, making sure that message is getting across the right way. Jihadi's been in Wink's system before. He understands what they're trying to accomplish. And it seems like he has stepped up as a veteran. The guys like him. The media doesn't love him. The guys like him. And that's just, something that it steps off and does very, very well for that locker room when Jihadi Ward is very involved with everything.
Yeah.
You got to see some guys, like I was always willing to help younger guys. Not all vets are the same, right? I'm not saying he's not like that. But some guys, man, you ask them a question, they look at you like,
you better figure
they said it earlier, bro. Like you should have been paying attention. Like, you can't really fault them for it at the same time because it's all competitive, right? Like, yeah, it would help that your teammate would understand it, but it will also, if y'all play the same position and he's
put
pretty
him in
good,
a better spot to take your job.
You're giving him information and keys to help him, take snaps from you.
I literally just had that mental picture of JC going, he doesn't understand it. He doesn't understand it.
I had a guy, I'm not gonna say his name, but he was in New Orleans. First of all, he was so like, he didn't take his notebook out for the meeting. He had his feet kicked up on the desk, wasn't paying attention at all. He was so like, F this stuff. Like, I'm not about to put up with this rookie playing in front of me. Like, I'm not about to put up with that. And he ain't answered none of my questions. And we were cool. And I would always ask him stuff. I was that annoying kid, and then when I started playing, now I'm really asking questions like, bro, like on cover 2 and they run that seam route, blah, blah, blah. And the quarterback's looking up, like I'm asking all of those high level questions because I'm a rookie. I'm young. I don't know nothing. I was basically just taking a one-on-one course, the 202 course. Now I'm on 426. Like there's a
gap there.
There's some, man. And a lot of veterans did fill that gap. Scott Shanley was a guy that played the position in front of me. Scott Vegeta, of course, Jonathan Vilma. Yeah. I played next to him, so he would move me if he needed to, which he did. Yeah. He did a lot, but then I kind of took that and was like, I'm gonna help the guys out, and as much as I can help, even when I was a full-time starter, coach kept me on the special team depth when I was in New York, and I would be third string. We didn't have third string. We just so I can go to the meetings because he knew how helpful I was to the younger guys. And like, I would literally be there for guys, horrible footwork, because a lot of these skill position guys, they're not taught in big skill. They're not taught how to kick slide. So when they get the punt, they struggle because that's just something that's not natural going backwards. DBs can do it. But again, the footwork's different, right? So I would take out like Andrew Adams. I would take Andrew Adams and be like, bro, put your left foot, put your weight on your left foot and kick. You gotta kick back, bro. You're gonna get mauled if you don't get depth. Like I'm on top of them, and I'll show them, like, look what I do to guys. If you're not perfect, if you're not doing your footwork correctly, you're gonna have somebody like me who understands how this stuff works, that's gonna use all the tricks, and he's gonna use it against you. So I would always try to help guys out. But Randy, everybody's not like me. Everybody's not like that.
Well,
hopefully, and look, I think the Giants did a good job in bringing in high character guys that are willing to do that and willing to be there to help and support the younger guys and bring them along, because I think that's what make a team get together faster in terms of everybody caught up to the same page.
That's the culture they built, right? That's the culture they instilled last year, right? It's the team mentality, and they're going to bring in guys that fit that team mentality. Maybe that's one of the many other reasons why DeAndre Hopkins is not going to be a Giant, but we'll talk about that later. The question I have, though, the really important question, is at what point during the OTAs do they start fucking with each other? Do they start like hazing the rookies a little bit? Do they start doing the practical jokes and the pranks and all that? Has that started by now?
Absolutely. You got to
good.
believe, like, first of all, first round draft picks, they get all the attention. That's just what it is. So you better believe Baker has already done some stuff already, for rite of passage. That's what I think. I think that's just rite of passage. Younger guys got to carry equipment, got to get food, got to sing, got to stand up and, tell everybody public information, which is the signing bonus and all that, what school you go to, and it's so funny because, man, I remember like some of these guys, man, I'm coming in undrafted and they're making rookies stand up, man, and they're talking about, signing bonus, whatever, $4 million, and everybody in the room's like, woo! Man, you don't know, like sometimes you don't really know exactly how much these guys is getting, and then you find out like, hey, he's good for a long time. Even if this football stuff don't work out for him, he's gonna be straight.
Boy, my signing bonus was like $5.
Yeah. I remember about halfway through the 2019 season. I actually remember it was the Monday night game against Dallas where the Black Cat came on the field, and I was talking with Michael. Yeah. I was talking with Michael Thomas, and Michael is like you, JC, very high character guy, great guy, and he says to me, some of these guys that we have, they just don't get it. We can spell it out for them. We can write it to them. But when we're in man defense and they're playing zone and their guys scoring touchdowns on you, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing else that we can do besides saying we are in zone, we are in man. Make sure you stick with what you're supposed to be doing. And he said that there was a particular rookie that year who obviously is no longer with the team. And Michael Thomas was just looked at me, and he just looked at me and he was just like, there's nothing else more we can do to help him at this point. And he told me who it was.
He just doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it.
He told me who it was too. And I'm like, I'm not surprised. It was a rookie that year. And if anyone who really wants to figure it out, the Giants traded up in the first round in 2019 to get him. So that's so if you can put two and two together, let's see.
Was he a corner?
Yes. JC got it. JC got it.
Who could that be?
I mean, I saw him playing football. I saw him play football. Yeah. It wasn't good. I mean, not all the time. Not all the time. It was a little more bad than good. That's for sure.
How was I supposed to know we were in man? Because we told you we were in man. So
I mean, you have stuff like that happening, man. And look, like hopefully it's not one of your better players that you rely on, because it's like he's gonna play. He's gonna be out there.
Yeah, sure.
And sometimes I'll call that like a brain fart. Like you got the coverage, you do, and you just played the wrong coverage or you play something else.
Sure.
And that happens, and the good part, the good time, like the good reason, another good reason that the guys are together and working together, that you could kind of see some of those things. So like as an older guy, a veteran, you might want to remind them, hey bro, we're man. Right before the ball is snapped. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's like, if you could help him, how could you help him? And man, this guy, forgets coverages. You can't do a coverage right if you don't know what coverage you're in. Like, there's like no way, because there's so many different coverages. If you guess, even if you guess man, there's different types of man. There's man with single help. There's zero man. There's two man with too high. Like, so it's football is like you gotta be on point consistently, and we talk about like the offensive line and what their job means and how they have to be on the same page about every call, because if they mess up one time, that can be a strip sack, your quarterback can get hurt, and it can be completely detrimental to the game and the outcome of the game. So you have to be on point. And I always think like Saquon not being in camp. I don't think it hurts him so much because he's been in the offense. He understands, he's a veteran, but I think it helps. It hurts him with timing with his offensive lineman and the offensive lineman of how he runs the ball and how he cuts back and how he does certain things, how you need to stay on blocks.
Yep.
And I think that hurts him not being around right now. And of course, no, they're not hitting, but I'll always in full support of everyone showing up for OTAs.
Yeah.
Yes, it's optional. Yes, you don't truly have to be there, but it helps.
Yep.
It helps, man.
Every bit of exposure you can get to the teammates, to the team. I mean, bonds are formed over shared experiences. And if you're not there sharing those experiences beyond just what happens on the football field, kind of gathering that team mentality, you're missing that if you're not there. Right. So
absolutely,
even beyond just the X's and O's, how am I going to take this cut, or how are you going to open up the line so that I can get through that hole? That kind of stuff is very important to your point. But the more you can be around one another, the better. And that's the kind of stuff that makes a difference when you get to those, November, December games.
And JC, I have to ask this from a teammate perspective to the media. When you're in a situation like Saquon's in, it sort of leaves your coaches and your teammates holding the bag a little bit, right? Because now they're coming to you asking you questions about him, and it's sort of, as a teammate, you have to be careful because you're trying not to talk for Saquon in that situation. You're not want to put words out there. You don't want to say, well, he should be here, because then you might be starting something that's not really attention that may not have to be there.
Well, Saquon's situation is totally different. He doesn't have a contract quite yet. Like he's not signed to anything, so he can't be there. That's a little bit of a different situation. And anybody that understands how the business of football works knows that he's probably not going to be around. His situation is different. I'm talking about guys that are locked in contractually wise. They're not upset. They don't want no more money. They're not holding out. They just decide not to show up.
They're still not there.
Yeah. Right. That's the situation I'm talking about, because it's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm sorry. Look, we all want to be parents. We have kids, guys that have kids. We all want to be parents. We want to be good parents. But I'm sorry. Football comes first. It has to. You can't survive if you are prioritizing anything over football. You can't survive. You can't. And hopefully you're not a single dad. Not too many NFL guys are single dads that don't have anyone to help them take care of their kids. But that would be the only situation that I would think that's okay. But even that situation, unless something happens to your kid, or like a graduation or something like that, a family event, like, yes. But I'm talking about like not being there for 2 or 3 weeks and there's really no good reason. Like, what are you doing? Like, what more important do you have to do? What more important is out there for you to do than football?
Well, your bread and butter.
Right. Dexter and Leonard reported late, but they were there. They weren't there the first couple days, and then I think they said they showed up beginning of this week, so they missed the first week.
Anybody see how they looked when they showed up? Like, I always envision those big boys, right? Those country dudes that come through, on the offensive line, on the defensive line. I always imagine them coming in a little robust before you actually have to, kind of get it down to where it's, getting down to your fighting weight. You know what I mean? Yeah. Does that usually happen, or am I off with that?
What? Man, so many guys, like I'm always a guy that stays in moderate shape, and I say moderate shape is probably better than everybody else's moderate shape, but I was always like that. There are guys who don't like to work out. There are guys who love to eat and just chill, and they might get a little running in while they're gone, or they might not do anything. Yeah. Like, I remember Darrelle Revis. It was in Tampa. It was sometime OTAs, and we were discussing about training camp. He was like, bro, I don't do nothing after OTAs. Like, I don't train. Like, I just go show up and I get in shape in camp. I mean, this is Darrelle Revis. This is one of the best corners that ever played football. And he was a little bit round in training camp when he would show up. He'll be on a little bit of a heavier side.
Okay.
But guys like that consistently do it. Like, if you're on the bottom of the roster and you're trying to figure out how I'm going to make this team, You don't have a chance to do that. You
Right.
know, you have to be in it several years to go ahead and say, oh, I can do that because I respond well to it.
Sure.
Once I figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll give you one example of something about like what I learned from a veteran player. And it wasn't me being lazy. It was just me being smart about conserving my energy, right? So when I was young, we used to do sprints whenever at the end of practice, 10 hundreds or whatever, 17 crossfields, whatever the case may be. And they give us a time. Devery Henderson was arguably one of the fastest receivers on the team for the New Orleans Saints. Whatever his time was, let's say it was 17. Devery Henderson was crossing that line at 17. He was crossing that line at 17, right?
Yeah.
Not running too hard,
Right.
not running slow, but he made his time every time. My rookie year, I couldn't do that. You know, I couldn't afford to do that. I needed to be hitting that thing hard. I didn't show that I'm in shape, you know, making sure I'm good. My third year, though, fourth year for sure, and then years after that, whatever the time is, I'm coming across right at that time, and I'll be mad if I came in earlier. Like if the time was 17,
you're pushing too
and
hard.
I came across at 16, like, I got to slow it down.
So let me get something. I want to make sure I understand what you just said to me, because I think the entirety of my body shuddered a little bit. Did you say 10 100s, as in you sprint 100 yards 10 times in a row?
Yeah, it's like after practice too.
What the?
Yeah. Maybe more like striders.
Like I knew you guys were in shape, but Jesus Christ.
Maybe more like striders, you know, and this is like a time where you maybe didn't have a too hard of a practice, or a coach wasn't happy about practice, and you're running.
A little extra running.
Yep. And the conditioning test, same thing. The conditioning test for me is like, go ahead and hit it if you want to, that first one. That second one is going to be a little harder. It's the hardest because, first of all, it was outside in humidity. It was always like, it could be 75 degrees, but like 85% humidity.
Oh, yeah, no.
And you feel like you're dying. Yeah. It feels so horrible. Yeah. So breathing is like difficult on days like that. Yep. And, you know, that last one, it was a 300-yard shuttle. And when you had to do all the touches, that was the hardest part, when you had to touch. So at the end, that last 300, I don't care what shape you was in, that thing was gonna hurt.
Yes,
it was gonna hurt. So for me, it was like, why am I gonna trying to get there early to show what?
Yeah,
what am I showing to who? It's not real football.
Make it through that 300.
Only thing you got to do is pass the conditioning test, and you can start camp. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. So let's just get that done. You know, but the things you learn when you start paying attention to older guys, and it's not like, I'm not about cheating or anything like that.
No.
But it's like,
no, but
why would I exert my energy with something that has nothing to do with football? I'm in shape, yes, and then I can go hard on these plays. You know what I mean? Like, I'm giving my all on every single play. You know, and that's all I cared about.
I just want to let you know I can run a 4.0 in 5 yards. I just want to let you know
that 5 yard.
That is
the 5 yard dash.
That's a 5 yard dash. I can do a 4. I can do 4.
A backwards roll.
Yeah, like I said, 4.0 in 5 yards. I can do it. Let's do it. So
Randy, do you know what I ran the 40-yard dash in when I was in college?
Oh, please.
I can't wait to hear this.
Take a guess.
Should I guess?
Take a guess. Both of y'all take a guess.
I'm gonna guess 4, 5, 6.
Okay, Randy.
I'm gonna go 4-4.
4-4. I have the Wisconsin linebacker record at the University of Wisconsin at 4.33.
Holy man, are you serious? There are DBs that don't run that.
Yep. I felt my junior year, my senior year I got hurt. I felt like my junior year, I was the fastest person on the team.
Damn.
I might have not been. We had some receivers. We had a kid named Jerry Butler who was from Philadelphia, he was a running back. He was really fast. But one day I caught him at practice. He broke like 60 yards, and I came up and I touched him out at the end. And everybody was like, yeah, I think JC's faster than we thought. Because they knew I was fast, but then I ran down Jerry Butler, and Jerry Butler ran like a 4.28.
Oh, damn.
So
You were a track guy though, right? You were a track guy
yeah,
coming in before you
I
played.
ran track my junior and senior year in high school, and even that, my high school coach was like he didn't really want me to run track.
Mm,
But then he saw that I was like running 10.8s, and he was
yeah.
like,
Mm,
well, you know what? He would
maybe
tell
you
the
oughta.
scouts when the scouts come in, he's good at track too, right? He's a track athlete.
Do they continually test that? Like, every time you hear about somebody's 40, it's what they ran at the combine, or it's what they ran, before. Do they consistently test what your 40 speed is? Like, because inevitably, when you come in as a rookie, yeah, you're super fast, but there are guys that pack on some muscle, pack on some athletic ability when they're, training the way that they do for a pro team. You might even be faster, than what's listed. Maybe you don't want teams to know. Is that
the Patriots put you through like a mini combine if they try to do it to me, and I was like, I ain't running no 40. Like I ain't about to run no 40, bro. Like it was like, yeah, let's just get your numbers real quick. It's like middle of the season. Like, what are we talking about?
Why?
I'm not about to what? Like, no. But a lot of times when guys are trying out for teams, and then they have some of these workouts, they put them through some type of drills. I'm not sure 40-yard dash though. But I got a couple guys, young guys that look a lot better on film than they do running their 40s.
Yeah.
It's a very technical race. And it's over so fast. If you mess up one time, you're going to run a really slow time comparatively to if you don't mess up, right? And you watch some of these guys who, like a Chris Johnson, even a Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, these 4.3, sub 4.3 guys, they're perfect, bro. They run perfect races. Their technique is perfect. They get to top speed immediately. And that's the thing about the 40. You got to be able to get to that top speed as fast as you possibly can and take as little steps as possible. There's a whole technique to it, man. And I feel bad some guys that don't test well, they don't run well, but they look fast on film. And like Mahomes. I think Mahomes is a guy, he ran like a 4.9 or like a high 4.8, mid 4.8. He doesn't look like a 4.8 guy. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I don't want that guy on my team if he can't do a sub 4.4.
He's not a 4.4 guy, but he don't look like a 4.8 guy. He's somewhere 4.5, maybe 4.6, because he runs away from guys. He can always get outside of the pocket. He has no problem getting first downs. Some guys just play a lot faster, but a lot of money is relying on that 40-yard dash. I've seen guys run 4.3 and they're like linebackers or defensive ends or something like that. They don't even do anything else.
Yeah, that's it.
We're good. We're good. Just
that's
all.
Right
that's all they said. They went, okay.
That's a $10 million race.
Yeah,
4.5 seconds.
I wonder why. I mean, if that's something, I mean, clearly it has something to do with how well they're conditioned, how well they're, how intricate they are with their technique, how committed they are to a technique in order to run a race like that. Maybe that's why so much value is placed on it. But it seems like playing speed is what would be more interested in, right? I mean, nobody's sitting on the sideline with a gun and a stopwatch when the game's going on. You know what I mean? It makes me sometimes wonder why things like the technique behind the 40, why that's so important, or why it's more important than what you see on film, what you see on tape, what you see on Saturday and Sunday when people are playing.
I think when you talk about draft stock, you got to look at all of the variables, and they put a lot on physical performance. How good is this kid? How great of an athlete is this kid? And that is basically your potential, right? Because your film is who you are.
Yeah, right.
Your athleticism is your potential.
I see.
So somebody with limited athletic ability, they might think that that's the top of their potential if they had a great, successful college career. And you get guys who are blazers that can run 4.2, 4.3. Maybe they had, decent college careers. Maybe not the numbers was there, but their potential to be a playmaker or to be an explosive game changer is a lot higher.
I see.
And Look, I didn't make the rules. I'm glad that I was blessed to be able to run that fast,
Yeah.
even though I still went
I was going to say,
undrafted.
yeah. How about it?
I gotta
Yeah.
I want to transition real quick, guys, because as we're running out of time here. Obviously, the big news of last week was DeAndre Hopkins was released from the Arizona Cardinals, and the conversation about a number one receiver for the Giants, and of course the receiving core. And last week we had this big conversation about Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton and Waller and all these guys. Um, let's go around here real quick. Ryan, start with you. Or if you're Joe Shane and Brian Daboll, are you going to entertain this? Are you going to look at it? What's your thought process on it?
Politically, yes, and it's like what Daboll said. Anytime anybody's a free agent that's worth a half a damn, they're going to get looked at, right? They're going to kick the tires a little bit. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins represents what this team needs at this point, right? The money is too high for a guy that is, I wouldn't say objectively, but there are some folks that are saying that he might be on the tail end of his career. There was one executive, I saw an article, one executive even went so far as to say that he's lost the step and he's not what he once was. So to take on a guy, I guess it's an intriguing proposition, but at that cost, at that level of play, to get the kind of receiver that he would be. And I think it's primarily a possession sort of guy, not necessarily the creating separation blazer kind of dude that, you might see in a Tyreek Hill or somebody like that. I just don't know that that's the kind of player that we're looking for. And at that cost, it's just prohibitive.
I think they already got that player. I think they already got that, that big time player, that big time receiver. It just plays a different position. I'm talking about Darren Waller, of course.
Waller. Yeah.
Now we possibly overpaid for Darren Waller. That can't happen multiple times a year. That could only happen once, right? He's the highest paid tight end in the league for a reason. The guy can play, but he also has that risk factor as well because he's missed a lot of time in the last few years, right? And he's a guy who I think undoubtedly is going to be a very focal point for the New York Giants offense and Daniel Jones. And I think he's going to have a great year if he stays healthy. The Giants already made that decision. They already went after that big name free agent. Somebody who we didn't think that was even available, right? And they got him, they paid him. He's fitting into the locker room really well.
Yeah.
It looked like him and Daniel Jones are hitting it off. And that's what you wanted. It looks like their investment is paying off right now. And of course, we won't be able to figure it out till, Dallas comes in town in September, and we see Darren Waller and Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley and Eric Gray and Jalen Wyatt and all the guys out there for the first time actually going against pretty good competition. And we're going to see what it's all about. So they already made that move. Yes, they didn't get that number one wide receiver, but they got a number one receiver in there.
Receiving threat. Yep.
And in my opinion of it is obviously he's had his ups and downs over the last couple of years, both on and off the field. This seems like a guy who probably best fit would be either going to Gulp Dallas, because it seems like this would be a Jerry Jones move. I honestly feel that this is a move that Jerry Jones would probably make. Or I can see him ending up with like an Oakland or maybe a New Orleans somewhere. I can't see him going to Philadelphia. I don't think Philly needs him.
All of those guys got number ones that you just named. Michael Thomas is back. You got Devontae Adams still in Oakland. He's not going to go to none of those places because he's at least going to be a really, really, really great number two or solid number one, if not a really good number one. We just, he got basically a year for football, and he is a little longer in the tooth. He's a little bit older. But I think it has to be a team who I think needs a number one. I think he's a little better off than Odell in terms of him, Odell coming off that ACL injury. And that
would be interesting. Going to Baltimore that would be really interesting seeing him go to Baltimore.
Right. But again, they just signed Odell for all of that money. They drafted a receiver in the first round. I don't see that place happening. Somewhere he named Herbert as one of his favorite quarterbacks. I think that's an interesting place. They might not be able to pay those two receivers over there. I don't really know the contract situation, but they got two really good receivers. I don't know if neither one of them is better than DeAndre Hopkins, though.
Yeah.
Right.
I do want to end this tonight on a trivia question. I was going to tease Ryan with it earlier today, but we decided not to. So I was trying to figure out the best way on how to do this because it's a Giant-centric question. So I'm going to say it like this. I'm going to make it a little easier. Since 1990, the Giants have been in the Super Bowl 4 times since 1990. Name me the 3 quarterbacks that took them to the Super Bowl. JC, you can start it off.
The 3 quarterbacks that took them to the Super Bowl. You got Eli Manning. You got Kerry Collins and Phil Simms.
Yep, there it is. There.
Yep.
I was originally going to make the question, and I'll see if we can do this. Between Phil Simms and Eli Manning, they had, believe it was 5 quarterbacks, 4 or 5 quarterbacks. Out of those quarterbacks, who had the best winning percentage?
Ooh, so you said between Phil Simms and
Eli Manning.
Yep. Kurt Warner.
I was just gonna say it might be Kurt Warner.
Yeah, Kurt Warner.
It was
with Kerry Collins.
Boy, I'm hot.
You're on fire, dude.
Kerry Collins number 2 being
number 2.
being 2 games over 500 at 35 and 33. So wow. I like throwing.
When I first started watching. Yeah, when I first started watching Giants football, Kerry Collins was under center.
Yep, same here.
I'm a transplant. I grew up in Texas, so that oppressive heat you were talking about, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I remember I had met Kerry Collins, Tiki Barber at some event when I was a little kid, and it was them little snap pictures where you wind it up.
Yeah.
So you can only see the picture as you take it. Sure. You don't see.
Disposable
anything
camera.
Away.
Yeah, man.
Right, a disposable camera, right. I forgot the name of it. So I told one of my friends, I said, hey man, get a picture of me shaking Kerry Collins' hand. He's like, all right. So he took it, 2 weeks later, I get it back and I look and the picture is just me and Kerry Collins' hand.
You asshole.
Yes, there it is. We didn't have to do anything other than
back in the day. You couldn't even check if it was a good picture or not.
No idea. You could have a whole roll that's totally fucked, and you would not know it until you got it back.
I want to tell you something. We don't even need a story time with JC. There it is, right there.
No, that's it, right there.
JC, we are officially 2 weeks away from your camp. Let's keep plugging, baby. What's going on?
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Like you said, we're less than 2 weeks out, about 10 days out or 11, 12 days out from the camp. My math is terrible. It's probably like a lot more than that or less. I don't know. But it's June 10th. It's at New Brunswick Middle School. I'm probably gonna post tomorrow. I've been working on some videos and promo videos and stuff from prior years that we've had content from. So that's about to get leaked out. I'm expecting to fill up quite quick, and it's been good. I'm very excited about this camp, and we're still, kind of tightening things up right now, and I'm looking forward to it. Cool,
and it's always a good camp, and the success stories that I've seen, that you've told me about, and I've seen, has been absolutely amazing from it. We wish you all the success with it, and we're looking forward to hearing what comes out of it, of course, this year. Guys, follow the show. Big Blue Report on social media and on all of your podcast platforms. Ryan Darlington's been signing autographs for the last 6 weeks. People are starting to recognize him.
He's not true.
That's not true. That's not true. I'm trying to build you up, man.
I know, man. Listen.
Guy can't even go out for dinner anymore. He gets mobbed by single.
Hey, next time we get on, unplug that router real quick before we start.
Right. Yeah, unplug it back in.
I got to do that on a weekly basis here at the house.
Yeah.
Well, I just got to tell you though, there's one thing I have to say. I hate the internet, but that's okay. The internet service sometimes stinks. But so the only other thing, obviously, follow the show. Follow Ryan on Tinder and follow JC on all of his social media accounts.
Hey, I do want to say one last thing. I don't know that he'll ever see the show, but it is my son Tucker's birthday tomorrow. I do want to give him a big shout out. I love you, buddy. Yeah, 12 years old. You're the best thing in my life. I fucking love you. I just love you. So happy birthday, bud.
Happy birthday, Tuck.
Happy birthday,
Tucker!
bud. Yeah, man. Looking forward to this weekend.
Guys, we will see you next week right here on the Big Blue Report. Hopefully this week I will be at OTA so I can give you a little bit more detailed report. JC will be there. JC will probably be in the cafeteria and then in the workout room, or maybe working out maybe he might be working out in the cafeteria. You never know.
In the cafeteria.
Hey, you know, those wings are magical.
We'll see you next week here on the Big Blue Report.